Hello.
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 Hello, Sam. How are you?
I'm okay. What's going on?
My name is Tova Naran, and this is Fool's Quest.
Oh,
It's a sort of adventure game, drawing game project I'm working on,
wonderful.
and you're the guinea pig, basically. So if any mistakes I learn from this, I'll correct them later, but
Okay.
they will still use it for this. So we're going to have a little adventure where it's going to be a little 16-part adventure where I'll set up a scene and then you respond, giving what you would do in that situation.
Yep.
And while you're doing that, I'm going to ask you to draw a picture.
Okay.
And basically, the picture should be completed by the time the adventure is over. So when I say it's part 16 of the adventure, you'll know it's almost quite finished. Cool. I think those are, so those are the rules.
Okay. Wait, how many parts was it again?
16.
16, okay.
Yeah, it's one of my favourite numbers.
17 is one of my favourite.
Oh, really?
numbers, so-
I don't have time to think of another part, sorry.
That's all right, I'll make my own 17th
Okay.
decision.
So yeah, I felt like, did you want to give a quick intro to who you are? I should have warned you about this earlier.
Oh, yeah,
Although
okay.
you didn't know this was going to happen, so I couldn't have.
Yeah.
But
I just magically transported
yeah, you did. It was very magical. There might be special effects.
Yeah. So my name is Sam Orchard. I draw comics. I've been doing a comic called Rooster Tales, which is basically an autobio webcomic. I think this is my 14th year, which is a long time. And mostly I create comics about queer and trans communities, either myself, because I'm queer and trans, or people who are in my community, as a way of kind of saying, hey, we're here, we exist in the world. These are some of our stories.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So the series is called Fool's Quest.
Okay.
So I want everyone I interview to draw a version of the Fool from a pack of tarot cards.
Yes.
So here's one. This is the classic one from the Rider-Waite deck.
Yep.
It's the number 0 because they're the indexed 0 on the tarot cards.
Yep.
They've got the word the Fool, and they're doing something foolish. They're about to walk off a cliff.
Yeah, and looking pretty happy.
They're happy, but they're going to fall off a cliff. So that's.
And they have an animal friend, which I quite like, which I don't know whether I'll include or not.
Yeah. So I was going to ask you to draw a fool, just taking inspiration from where you work, who works at a library. So someone who is foolish at a library, doing something foolish.
Oh, that's interesting. Maybe someone talking very loudly. No, I like that. Okay, let me have a think. Foolish. I feel like I can think of like nefarious things that you can do at libraries, like burning books. Which is
That's not really foolish.
It's not foolish. But maybe bringing in lots of food and drink that you're going to spill all over the books or something.
So we're about to start.
Okay.
I'll start when you start drawing.
Okay. All right. Let me have a think. Maybe they're going to trip over a book.
So part 1. It is the day before an event or an occasion that you have been looking forward to for a while. What is the event? What is something you would look forward to?
Ah, well. Oh, this is good. It's actually, this year is my 40th birthday.
40th?
Which feels like a milestone. So maybe I've decided to throw my introvert ways to the wind, and I've organised a big 40th birthday party.
Nice.
And I'm really looking forward to it. And I've invited people. Someone said to me the other day that they threw a party and they invited everyone they've ever met, which I'm not sure that I'll go that far. I feel like maybe I'm not quite ready to throw caution that far into the wind, but that I've invited people from past, present, and hopefully future.
People from the future, that's prescient.
Yes.
Um,
Well, I'm guessing that I'm assuming that I'm allowed to make up the rules of what this event can be. But maybe, is that within the universe of the...
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Quest? Yeah, no. There's, you can do what you wish. It is a thing. Part 2. You're all prepared for this event, and it's your day off, and it is your downtime. How do you spend this free time? You're relaxing, you don't have any obligations. You're all set up for the party.
I'm all set up for the party, and I'm anticipating it's going to go off without a hitch because I'm very well organised. So I'm just going to take some time off. I probably actually would sit and draw. I think that's probably what I'd do. I might do some reading. I might watch some really bad reality TV. Or, actually, no, I've got it. So they've put all of the old episodes of Shortland Street online. I thought they just put the first season, but actually they've put the first however many seasons on. So I'm slowly making my way through that, which is like maybe tens and thousands of episodes.
That is a lot.
It's a lot of episodes.
I think I have the first episode on DVD. It came in a free magazine, and no one bought the magazine, so I could keep the DVD. So part 3, you're sound asleep that night. You're prepared. You're really anticipating your birthday, but you're woken up by an earthquake. It feels like this could turn into a bad earthquake. So what you do, you're worried. But you only have time to grab one thing. What's a sentimental item that you're really fond of? It can't be replaced because it's a one of a kind or something. You've got, or maybe like a collection of things.
I was thinking about this the other day because I've been working my way through this list of questions that is like 50 questions to fall in love with, and it's taken Anna and I about a year and a half to work through these questions. And one of them was this: what would you grab in a fire? And I have a little locked box. It's probably, it's fairly decent sizes. I guess it's not little. That has my diaries and terrible angsty writing in it that I would have done in my teenage and early 20s. And there's something about it that is very shameful and embarrassing that I never want anyone else to read. But also, I have a lot of compassion for my younger self and what they were going through, and just their need to express the feelings that they were having. And I find it quite tender and lovely. So I probably keep those. I probably make sure that those get saved, because they're handwritten and they don't exist outside of that little box. And so that's what I would choose to save, I think.
You would never show it to anyone.
I never show it. Yeah, no. And like every time I look at the box, I cringe because I'm like, I know what's in there, and I can't really remember what it is entirely. But I know that it's terrible writing that felt terribly important at the time.
So part 4. So you wake up in the morning, but something feels wrong. You look up on the internet, and what's happened is the event you were looking forward to, your 40th birthday, happened the day before. It happened yesterday.
Oh,
you missed it somehow.
Oh, this is disastrous.
It is very disastrous. So either you got your birthday wrong somehow.
Yeah, it's. There was a year that I told everyone the wrong age that I was, and then the next year I was like, oh, I'm not turning. I can't remember. It was like 35 or something. I'm not turning 35. I've been that for a year.
Mm-hmm. So you got the day wrong, or you somehow slept through the entire day.
Also,
this is quite. I imagine this would be quite stressful for you.
Yes.
What do you do to relieve your stress?
I think I'd probably go for a big long walk, which I'm discovering is something that I find really helpful.
Yeah.
I'd probably take myself up to Zealandia or something to kind of be out of my own headspace, worrying about having let everyone down, and make sure that I was just kind of like taking a deep breath. And what I like about Zealandia is that there's something beautiful and restorative about it, and there's always something new and different to look at and new things to kind of find in there, new birds that I haven't seen before, or new paths that I haven't gone across, and it changes all the time. So it kind of gets me out of my own day-to-day life, and yeah, I find it very peaceful.
So it's a good choice. While you're doing your stress relief activity, going for a walk at Zealandia, other people get in touch with you. Other people are also disoriented. They've lost or gained days. Everyone is a wee bit out of time.
Oh.
So something has like dramatically happened to just time.
Right.
That's how you're able to invite people from the future to your birthday party, I guess. I don't know. Just everyone's kind of out of time a wee bit. So you have to sort it out. Do you feel like it's your responsibility to sort it out?
Absolutely.
Do you want to...
There's no question in my mind that I would take too much responsibility for this. I've probably caused it. It's probably something that's my fault and I've caused, and I need to repent in some way.
But when you feel like you need to put on your superhero costume. So like it's based on your strengths. So like the way.
Oh no, this is a hard question.
So yeah, Batman's strength is bats. So he wears a bat costume.
Yeah.
What would you say your strength is, and how might it be represented in a costume?
Something that I like about with comics, and I think I do pretty well, is find ways to take scary topics or topics that feel a bit complicated or confusing to people, and make it simple and easy to understand, and kind of make people feel okay about it. And I think that's partly the power of comics in and of itself. But it's also something that I like to do with my comics. So, I think a lot of people at the moment are pretty scared about trans people, for example. And there's a lot of misinformation there. They either are scared of trans people and our very existence, or they're scared to get it wrong, and they have very good intentions and want to make sure that they're doing right by us, but we're not really sure about the whole pronoun business or what name to call us and that sort of thing. And so I feel like sometimes what I'm trying to do with my work is to be like, hey, we're just humans, and we all have different things going on, and we encounter difference all the time, and actually it's our differences that create beauty and complexity in our world, and we shouldn't be scared so much of difference. We should be embracing that, because that is part of the fullness of the world. This has gone on a tangent. I think actually I would just have a giant pencil, which feels like a rude joke, but that would be my transport that I would use. I would be flying on a giant pencil. And my costume, I think I just like the idea of like lots of panels on it. So lots of spaces that in this fictional costume that can change, it could have different panels telling different stories at different times that like pop up and change according to what's going on with the situation that I'm in. That's what I imagined.
I feel like it's probably a DC comic. They've made so many like heroes and villains, and I'm sure there's one that's like covered in comic book panels.
Yeah,
like
sure.
Comic book panel man or something.
Yeah.
So part 6. You're wearing a superhero costume based on your strength, and you begin to wonder if it's your nemesis who is responsible for the time displacement events. So just like Batman has no sense of humor, so his nemesis is the Joker. What would you say is a weakness of yours that might be represented like a nemesis in their costume?
I mean, my nemesis is me, isn't it? Because it's a very... As I said before, it is my fault that the time is happening. But probably I think one of the things that I'm working on is trying to not assume what other people want and thinking that I can fix them. I guess that I get a bit fixated on that, and like it's much easier for me to concentrate on what other people might need and how they're doing, rather than kind of let them do their own thing and say, I'm here if you need. I don't know how that gets represented in terms of a costume.
No, that is
But
I don't know.
I think it's like a control thing, right? That sometimes I feel like, because of my anxiety and how my brain works, I like to control situations quite a lot. And I'll do that through, literally making comics and then getting to control the narrative. But I also think that I spend a lot of time just trying to make people feel okay, and that just doesn't let them have their own freedom to do what they need. So I think that it would be someone who is not controlling in that way. It's the opposite. So maybe it's some sort of chaos merchant, someone who's just kind of out of control and encouraging other people to be out of control as well, which sounds terrifying to me, actually.
How do you represent chaos, do you suppose, in the form of a costume?
In the form of a costume, that's one of the things that I'm genuinely frightened about this world, that it feels like we're heading into really chaotic times, that, we're scrambling for what to do about climate change and what to do about fascism and how to stay grounded and focus on the important things within that, and know how to combat these. Like, I think that part of the way that some of the alt-right gets their hooks in is preying on people's fears. And so it's like, I can imagine some sort of creature or monster that's just spouting out misinformation and being really antagonistic and being kind of just preying on people's fears all the time, and not necessarily making sense or offering any solutions, but just like being there, in all its kind of chaotic thing, being like, the world's ending and you got to get your own and don't care for other people, and to combat some of those stuff is like to stick with, to know what you know, to know that people are inherently good, and as a community we get through things, and there's power in building solidarity and community together. Whereas I feel like some of the chaos elements tell you these lies that you're all alone and there's no one going to help you, so you got to get whatever by tearing other people down and get there first, take no prisoners kind of thing. So that's what I imagine. I guess it operates a costume like that. Now I'm just imagining someone with a loudspeaker just reading Facebook comments or stuff comments or something.
I think... Okay. So someone with Facebook and a loudspeaker. You track down your nemesis to their lair, the Facebook megaphone lair. How do you overcome...
They're easy to find because they're right there operating in plain view.
How do you overcome this weakness of yours that is represented in a nemesis?
I'm really lucky because actually all of my friends, past, present and future, are in town because I invited them to my birthday party, which I never showed up in. So I think that's the way. Like, it's not just me who can take this person down. What is needed is a lot of people, and a lot of people acting together to be like, hey, actually, we're not interested in what you're up to. We, I don't know why I'm thinking about the labyrinth, but at the end of the labyrinth, when Sarah says, "You have no power over me," I feel like all of us just standing up and being like, "Nah, we're not interested. Your misinformation and all of your weird, like, I just want to have a debate about your own existence. It's not fooling anyone."
No.
We're here to say, hey, we're interested in community, and we're interested in solidarity, and we're interested in trying to take seriously some of the challenges that we have ahead of us, like climate change. And we're going to respond as a group, rather than let this tear us apart. Because actually we have the answers between us. And that comes from listening and, yeah.
There was this old mini-series, I think. It had Sam Neill playing Merlin. Oh. I don't know if you remember that.
Yes. Was it Merlin? No, it wasn't.
Oh, I can't remember. I thought it was Merlin. I remember at the end, he overcame, this is a spoiler if you haven't seen it, but he just says to the baddie, I can't remember what he says, but he just turns and walks away, and everyone just turns their back and walks away.
Yes.
And then that person just disappears.
Oh, I love
it. Which is magic. And yes. I just wish that would happen more often. Just we turn our back on you and walk away, and you have no more power. It's beautiful.
I changed my answer. That's the answer.
Oh, sorry. Okay, sorry.
No, it's so good.
Okay. This so part 8. Is there some kind of a catchphrase or a clever remark you make as you overpower your weakness?
You have no power over me.
That's pretty good.
I do like the approach that you just talked about of like, I'm just not going to engage. Like, I'm not going to give you what you need, which is what you need. What I feel like they're asking for is interaction. They want that conflict, and just to say, no, we've got better conversations to be having. We've got things to build. We've got things to overcome here. We're turning our energy away from this and putting it towards something good. So maybe silence is the best.
Silence. Silence is a catchphrase. That's a bit. I like it.
You know when someone makes a really racist or homophobic or whatever joke, and I've heard people say, what I just do is look at them and don't say anything and let their words just hang in the air so they have to hear it. I'm someone who talks a lot, and I'm trying to learn how to use silence more strategically, and I find that a really powerful strategy, just to let people hear what they've said and do their own reflections on, that probably wasn't a nice thing to say.
So your nemesis tells you that they are not in fact responsible for all of the people who have been displaced in time.
Well, wouldn't they?
What?
They would, wouldn't they?
Well,
it's true.
It is true. In this case, it's true. You can tell it somehow. Okay. Just as they tell you this, you feel time begin to wobble.
Oh.
And they disappear from your view, and you fall. This is a huge scene change. You fall forward through time into a post-apocalyptic landscape.
Oh no! Okay.
You ask around. It might be 50 years in the future.
Yeah.
You ask around, and it turns out the apocalypse was caused by something you fear the most.
Oh.
I feel like this has been covered by. I suspect your answer will be similar to previous answers. But yeah, what is something that you fear that might result in an apocalypse?
I mean, I think the disintegration of community and people having goodwill towards each other and just acting in their own self-interest is probably at the grand scale of things, but also on a personal level, I think sometimes it's really hard to be different. Sometimes it's one of the most amazing, joyful things, but sometimes I worry, what if these people are right? What if I truly am bad and wrong, and should be punished for that? And then I think a little bit deeper. I'm like, nah. But there's still part of that fear, I think, when you are different in some way and you have to constantly be justifying your existence, then it lands somewhere inside of you, even if you don't believe it, or even if you can understand that it's not right. I feel like it's still there.
So how
would this manifest?
Is an apocalyptic event?
I mean, probably it's got to do with like what may happen is that difference becomes something that is reviled more than it is now, and people are so busy policing each other for their difference that they forget to connect, and then we just can't build anything together because we're too busy tearing each other down and trying to survive on our own, which ironically is not how it's going to work, actually. That will just make everything worse. Hence the apocalypse.
Yes. So realistic apocalypse?
Yeah. Oh, man.
What? Yeah. So so you're currently you're in a post-apocalyptic society. You're sort of you're settling in. You've resigned to this.
Here we are. Everyone hates each other. We're at war. We can't combat climate change because we're just too busy fighting each other and blaming each other. Instead of focusing on solutions, we're just like in it, desperately trying to avoid other people because we're too scared to connect. This has gone very dark.
I didn't mean for it to go dark.
It's quite funny because I'm drawing this very silly picture about me tripping over books at the library carrying a bag full of open sodas.
It didn't have to be you, by the way. I was taking inspiration from your job.
Everything is me, and I am the biggest fool.
Anyway, so back to the part 10. So sadly, as the apocalypse, your current profession no longer exists. So you're going to have to fill some other role in this society.
Yeah.
How would you contribute to a post-apocalypse society without libraries?
One of the things that I realised over lockdown is that I had no survival skills. And I have long maintained that if there's a zombie apocalypse, I will self-sacrifice. In a very dramatic way that will probably help no one, but I'll feel like a hero. And I've tried to counter that message because I don't think it's particularly helpful. So one of the things I learned to do over lockdown was that I learned how to fish. And I'm not very good at it, but I enjoy it. And it felt like a very practical skill that I could have that could contribute. You know, I think that art actually is a very important skill and a very important thing that people should value in society. But it also feels like it's not the same as being able to build a house or get some of those immediate needs met as well. Which is not to say that art isn't integral to our survival, it is. But there's other skills.
I feel like I'm just going to amend the story. So you become a famous fisher person
cool.
in the post-apocalyptic future. You're amazing at it. You were just feeling down before, so I'm like, no, you're really good. You got it. You're supporting the community through fishing.
Nice.
You're doing a good job.
And maybe I'm teaching people how to fish as well, and teaching sustainable fishing. So it's not like we're not killing unsustainably. We're finding ways to fish, and replenish those fish and make sure it's very humane. Just to make myself feel better.
I like it. So, unfortunately, time keeps happening. These time jumps. Time jumps. What is going on? We'll get there. And now, sorry, this is going to be very dark.
I love it.
I didn't mean to make it so dark, but I can't rewrite on the fly. So you've teleported a bit further into the future, and you end up at your own funeral.
This is not dark at all. This is very exciting.
Is it? Oh, good. Yeah, so you're at a funeral of the dead version of yourself, and you're alive somehow, and you can see people speaking about you.
Yes,
because that's what they do at funerals.
Yeah.
What are the nice things that people say about you at your funeral?
That's a good question. I shudder to think. I hope that people will say that I'm kind and that I think people say that I have a funny laugh, that I have a nice laugh, that it's infectious. So I like to think that lots of people are talking about having a nice time with me, having a laugh, and that they remember doing something with me that was pretty funny and that they had a good time. I like to think that I'm somewhat generous. I mean, it depends who you are, but I can be generous with time and energy. So I think people would hopefully say that. That's what I'd like them to say.
They definitely do.
That although I'm shy, that once you get me talking, I'll just talk for a long time, and I like to tell a story. I think that would be the main ones. Just that people thought I was community minded and was interested in people and interested in learning. Probably, I think as well that I'm really passionate about storytelling, and particularly stories that don't get a lot of airtime for whatever reason, because people are scared of difference, or they're like, I don't know how to tell that story well, or it won't sell enough, but whatever's. One of the things that I do is that I'm involved in Same But Different, which is the Queer Writers Festival, and I get a lot of joy from that. And I think we happen to have a really incredible queer writers community in New Zealand who are just like making some amazing stuff. When you get told that who you are is bad or wrong for whatever reason, or in this, people don't understand you or don't want to hear your differences, to take up space, knowing that you live in that sort of world is really important and really powerful, actually. So I can't even remember what the question is.
What are people saying at your funeral letters?
I think they'd be like, wow, he can go on a rant about things. He really is passionate about comics and queer stories.
Yeah.
And sometimes he's hard to follow.
Cool. So part 12, we're 3/4 of the way through. So you look down at the deceased Sam, and you contemplate the finite nature of existence.
Yeah.
And you ask yourself, what is something that you had wished you had spent more time doing while you were still alive?
I can tell you what I wish I spent less time doing, which might be able to get me to where I spent more time doing. Probably drawing is going to be the answer at the end of it. Spoiler. I think I wish I have spent less time worrying. I spend a lot of time worrying about a lot of things that I have no control over and no ability to affect. I've recently have been trying to learn how to dance, and part of that is that when I was younger, I couldn't do it, not because I was bad. I'm always going to be bad at dancing because I'm just not very coordinated, but I was just too worried about looking like a fool. And I'm not worried about looking like a fool in in lots of other regards, I do weird things all the time, and I understand that. But there's something about being in my body and moving to music that I get real up in my head about and get really worried about. And I'm trying to learn how to just let that go and be in the world. I've forgotten to draw the animal friend.
Oh, you've got time. I feel like I could have asked you to draw a dancing person if you feel like you were a dancing fool.
I mean, I'm not there yet. I've still got a ways to go.
Do you know No Lights, No Lycra?
Yeah, these are things. I've been to one and I sat on the floor the whole time because I couldn't get in. I couldn't get out of my head about it. It's a work in progress.
That really worked for me. Like I just had no confidence in my body, and then I went to No Lights, No Lycra. No one can see me apart from a silhouette, and it's like I unlocked part of myself that I didn't know existed. And
I love that.
So maybe if you go a few more times.
Yeah, I need to. It was a long time ago that I went, so I need to get back into it, I think.
So, you encounter Rebecca Priestley.
Cool.
I don't know if you know her or not. She's the author of End Times, which I haven't read, but I've bought a prop there promoting books I haven't even read. So, Rebecca Priestley is sitting cross-legged and levitating a metre off the ground.
Oh my gosh, okay.
This isn't like a thing that she specifically can do, but she studied both arts and science, and that's what people can do when they have both those skills.
Yeah.
They can levitate.
Great.
So she is the one who can answer the questions of what has been going on.
So good.
But first you must offer her something. So a craft or something, or a craft object, or a item that is distinct to you of value, that a token that you can offer her. So something you can create for someone.
Have I created it?
It's something for you to, like, it might be a drawing or it might be something else, but just something that you can offer Rebecca as a token in exchange for this information. So, of what's going on.
I mean, my go-to is to draw a caricature, of course. But maybe that's too easy. Like, I quite enjoy drawing pictures of other people. Mostly when it's not asked for. When someone asks, I get a bit intimidated. But giving them a little surprise thing is fun.
I mean, that's fine. It doesn't have to be...
All right. I'll take the easy option then.
Okay.
I'll just draw a little cartoon version of her.
Okay. So Rebecca explains. So when there's an earthquake, because she studied geology, which is why I've included her.
Yes.
There's P waves and S waves, different types of movements. This is based on what I've read on the internet, so it might be a bit, I don't know. I don't know how accurate it is, because the internet is not the best.
The internet's not always known for its accuracy, but...
So there's P waves that go backward and forward, and then there's S waves that go up and down. Okay. But there's also T waves, and T waves go backward and forward through time, and people and objects get moved around in time. And what happens is, there's these T waves have aftershocks.
Okay.
So gradually, everything will return back to where it was in time, and that's why people don't remember these T waves,
right,
because they're exactly where they was. They haven't, from their perspective, they haven't gone anywhere, or none of this has happened.
Yeah.
So that's why these T waves, they happen all the time during earthquakes. We just don't remember them because time resets itself. Okay. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
It's science fiction. Or just science in this case. But what you can do is you can learn to surf the T waves.
Oh.
And then that way, when there's an earthquake, you can learn to travel forward, back and forward in time. It's a skill. Rebecca asks you, if you could travel anywhere in time, where would you travel to and why?
Anywhere in time and space? Like, could I travel... Or would I have to go? Does it have to be in Wellington?
Oh no, and presumably you could travel to a place and then transport some time to.
Oh yeah, of course.
Okay, I mean, you need an earthquake, so it has to be like an earthquake-prone area, I guess. It's tricky. Anyway, it's overthinking. Where would you travel in time?
I feel like I've seen too many science fiction shows that say if you travel back in time and change something, then you're gonna mess everything up.
Huh.
And I worry about the same for the future. It's too much pressure. Oh no. I mean, part of me is really intrigued to see where the world is going in the next 30 years. Because it feels like we're heading into some really volatile times, and it would be reassuring to know that we would all be okay, and it would also be helpful to know if we needed to plan differently. So that's probably what I would do.
Yeah. That's wise. And also you can't affect the future if you're there. I mean, you can't.
Yeah.
If you go back into the past, you break a butterfly, and that affects things in the future.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, no, that's...
I just go and see and try not to touch anything just in case. But then at least I would know and be able to, make some plans.
So, suddenly you begin to feel more aftershocks begin to happen, and you haven't learned to surf the T waves, so you can't. So you're probably just going to end up back where you started.
Yeah.
But you notice that Rebecca Priestley, because she's got this skill of surfing the T waves, you notice like there's a corridor of time happening around her.
Yeah.
And you can see like a version of yourself nearby who is walking in Zealandia.
Oh, cool.
So I've brought up your answer to the second question. And then you look even further back and you can see a version of yourself who's like aged about 12 or something. And you can communicate something, you can yell something to this version of you that's further back in time. And you want to, what advice would you give to your younger self?
I think it would be the same advice that I was saying before, just worry less. Just enjoy your life more. And don't worry, just do what makes you feel comfortable and what you need to do, and don't sweat the small stuff, even though the small stuff feels like big stuff. Like, I wouldn't give them a it gets better thing, because I think that my younger self would not listen to that. And it in lots of ways it doesn't get better. I feel like I've made lots of choices to try and make my life easier. But I think the thing that I most regret is just not giving myself an easy time of it. That I've been pretty self-critical and pretty worried about who I am and the impact that I have on other people, that if I spent less time and energy on that, I would have been able to contribute more and enjoyed things more. And I think the time that I've spent worrying makes me feel a bit sad. I don't think it has been helpful to me, and I'm trying to learn to not do that as much. I think that's probably I'd also want to give them a big hug and say that you're loved, and even if you don't feel like you are, you are.
I remember that's actually what you drew once. You were asking for a prompt, and I can't remember what I said, but you drew a version of yourself hugging your past self.
Oh,
do you remember that?
I don't remember that at all.
It'll be on the internet somewhere.
Yeah, right.
So that's something that you have thought of before, apparently.
Yeah. Oh, that's nice. Yeah, I feel like there's lots of... I've kind of been moving stuff around the house and finding old pictures, and I just want to give that person a hug and just be like, you're all right. I know it doesn't feel like it, but you are.
And now we're on to our last question.
Oh, okay.
Part 16, final part. Now you're looking at the other direction, up the time corridor, and you see a future version of yourself, who is maybe 5 years in the future. Where do you see yourself in 5 years' time?
Oh. I don't know where, but what I hope is that I'll be 45. I hope that I'm spending my time and having enough space and energy to draw and create things and feeling good about that. I like to think that I've got people around me. I'm imagining that I'm throwing a dinner party or something. That there's people there that I'm cooking for or making some food or sharing some food with, and we're having a nice time, and I feel like there's things that I'm still wanting to work on, and things that I want to learn and things that I want to do, and I'm still looking forward to doing that. I don't feel complete, but I feel pleased and full in a way of good food, good people around, lots of things, lots of opportunities of things that I'm excited to do and not quite finished yet, I think that's the best feeling of that you feel like you've got more. You're not done. Yeah.
Cool. That was the end of the story. Epilogue is, like I said earlier, it was a spoiler, but you haven't learned to surf the T-wave, so you basically reset back to where you started. But because you were in the vicinity of Rebecca Priestley at the time, you remember all of the things that happened. She has these powers.
Oh, good.
And that's and you get to attend your 40th birthday party and tell people about these events. And
nice, and they'll be like, what are you talking about?
Yes.
Wonderful.
So is that, are you ready with the...
I'm ready.
Yay!
I think that it was helpful having the number of questions.
Yeah. That's why I did that.
So I've drawn myself as the fool, and I'm kind of got a jaunty walk on, which is usually what the fool looks like in the tarot. And I'm carrying a whole lot of sodas, like the ones like from McDonald's or a takeaway shop that have those lids that fall off as soon as you touch them, basically. And they're already a bit leaky. And I'm just about to trip over a pile of books, because I'm at the library, which are inexplicably on the floor. Maybe someone's just popped them down there and forgot about them. And the outside world is existing. There's sun shining. There's more adventures to be had outside the window. And there's a little cat in the corner, which is my cat Bobs, who's just hanging out with me at the library. What I like about the Fool is that they're very happy. And they have no idea what's in front of them. And, maybe they will walk off the edge of that cliff. Maybe they will spill all the books in the library. But for this moment right now, they haven't done that.
No.
And so they're looking forward to the future. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you. So now that that's over, I have to add a disclaimer. This was a fictional version of Rebecca Priestley. I did... Oh, I know, shock. I did email her though. And
oh, nice.
And this is her response. I asked her about, would it be possible to travel, surf T-waves to go back and forward through time during earthquakes? And she says, I have an understanding of earthquakes from my geology student days, but I'm afraid that my only knowledge of time travel comes from books and movies. From my perspective as a reader, I can say that I find your idea about T-waves fascinating and worth exploring.
Oh, nice.
I've copied in my colleague Tim Corbelis, who I expect thinks about these sorts of things too. But although we are in a faculty of science, neither Tim or I work as scientists, if you want someone with more scientific expertise, I suggest you contact someone with expertise in astrophysics, perhaps.
Oh,
so there we go. I've picked the wrong. Yeah, I didn't have a person who's like an astrophysicist who'd written a book, and I think a geology student expert might fit the story better.
I'm sure there is an astrophysics expert out there who will help solve the mystery.
Yeah. And then Tim replied as well, and I began to feel a bit bad because I hadn't really intended to involve a whole bunch of people. It was just
great.
fun. But I won't read Tim's reply.
I love that they're called T-waves as well.
T-waves. I think this is really cool. Surfing the T-waves.
Yeah.
I like the ring of that.
Yes.
Anyway, so that was the end.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I hope all the devices worked. Still going.
Yeah. We're an hour and 4. Great. Should I press stop?
No. There's a what do you call it?
Oh.
We haven't finished yet.
Oh yeah. Okay.
It's like the final thoughts. Do you have any final thoughts?
Oh, that was nice. I know we went to a dark place with the apocalypse, but I do think, I don't know, there are things to think about, the things that I'm thinking about.
Yeah.
And I do hope that libraries exist even in the apocalypse.
Oh, yes.
Because they are very important.
Libraries have always existed.
Yes.
It was just I needed something to fit the story.
Yeah.
And that was
fine. I'm not angry with you that you destroyed all the libraries. Libraries will be one of the first things that are destroyed because they are kind of socialist institutions. They're there around knowledge sharing.
And yeah, do you have any I'm going to take a Polaroid of you.
Oh yes.
Perfect. That is it. I'm going to teleport you back to where you were when you started.
Okay.
And you won't remember any of this, sadly.
Oh.
Even though I'm going to put it on social media and stuff.
Maybe some part of my subconscious will remember.
I'm going to click my fingers and that's going to happen.
Okay.
Did it work?
I think so. Maybe not.
I'll try it again.
Okay. Should I do another flop?